It is Saturday afternoon here on the East Coast. Depends, I guess, where you are in the world. I am the Solomonster. Crown Jewel in the books here for 2022. Roman Reigns and Logan Paul went into that main event tonight, and they hit a home run. They hit a home run in the final match here on the card. And one thing that we learned tonight, Logan Paul can do a better buckshot lariat than CM Punk. We at least learned that much coming out of that main event. Roman Reigns is still the WWE Universal Champion. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. But what might be a surprise is the performance of Logan Paul. In only his third professional wrestling match, third match he's ever had in his entire life, he went out there and he looked like a main event player in a way that very few people I can think of in the history of the wrestling business who have been doing this for only a very small period of time have been able to go out there and convince people that they look like they belong, that they look like a star who belongs in the main event. He went out there tonight and proved that if he commits himself to this and he is serious about this and he sticks around for the long haul, he'll be a world champion one day. Because the physical gifts that he has, and, you know, he's a charismatic guy, he's got the personality, but it's those physical gifts that he has in the ring because he's a natural athlete, that if he can stick with this and he stays serious about wanting to be a wrestler and a WWE star, he'll be a main event player in this company for years to come if that's what he wants to be. I thought that main event was excellent. And I thought that actually on the whole, this was a show where there was a lot more to like than not. This will go down as one of the stronger Saudi shows that they have done out of the 8 now that we have seen over the last few years. Bray Wyatt made an appearance on this show. He continues to fight with himself. They put people away in padded rooms for less than what we see going on here with Bray Wyatt. The Usos is going to be a story to watch going forward. I'm not talking about anything bloodline related, but one thing to watch going forward is possible injuries to both Jimmy and Jay. Unfortunately, Jay came out tonight. Michael Cole said on commentary that he may have a broken wrist. Now, I don't know if that is a storyline injury. I don't know what purpose it would serve. It really didn't play into the match at all. So I have to assume that he was injured on the European tour. That's what Michael Cole said on commentary. He was going to go back to the States. He was going to have an MRI done and get a further diagnosis on that. But the bigger story may not so much be Jey Uso, because Jey Uso wrestled tonight and he looked fine. The bigger issue might be Jimmy Uso. And even though they came back out at the end of the show and they interfered in the main event and they looked okay, my bigger concern coming out of the tag team title match tonight is the left shoulder. I believe it's the left shoulder of Jimmy Uso, because he clearly injured his shoulder during that tag match, and this was more than just selling. And I just hope that it's nothing serious, but it could be a walking wounded situation with the Usos, which would be a catastrophe, given the storyline with the Bloodline, given how long they've been tag team champions for. They're supposed to go to SmackDown next Friday and defend against the New Day. They're going to try to break the record as the all-time longest reigning tag team champions in company history. And that could potentially be in jeopardy depending on how seriously they may or may not be hurt. And of course, one other story here from the show. And I have to show him some love. I have to give him a shout out, because if you watch the show, it was all over the show. You could not miss it. You could not possibly miss it. Our boy Fawaz has been to a whole bunch of these Saudi shows. He's a big fan of the Sound Off. He lives over in Saudi Arabia. And he has shown love to this podcast so many times before. And tonight was no different. That Sound Off sign was all over the show tonight. And I can't tell you what it means to me to see that kind of representation for the podcast all the way around the world. Really in all different parts of the world. But, in the Middle East or wherever it may be. So we got a lot of shots like this tonight. And Fawaz is the person who deserves all the credit for that. So shout out to him. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you for choosing me for your Crown Jewel coverage. This is your Crown Jewel 2022 review from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Hit the subscribe button if you are new here. Super chats are open. There is a brand new Seth Rollins $35 one. There's some donation amounts, special ones, in the description if you want to take a look at what's down there. Drop a like to help the video out. The goal for tonight, if we can hit, or I keep saying tonight, it's the middle of the day. Didn't have lunch. Hopefully I'll be able to have dinner. But the goal for this afternoon is 600 likes. So if we can hit 600, we will do our Be the Booker segment, a special afternoon edition of Be the Booker a little bit later on. You can also become a channel member if you would like to, and you can now gift memberships to other people. So we're heading into the holiday season. If you're in a giving mood, you want to gift a membership to somebody else in the live chat, you can now do so as well. One interesting thing, I know a lot of people picked up on this, I did too, because when the show went on the air, they have the opening signature. Yeah. Hey, Kevin Coleman getting us started here with the $20 super chat. Kevin is a long time. Thank you, Kevin. Usually doesn't get to watch live, he says, because of the time zone difference. All the way from Ireland. Kevin, thank you. I'm happy that you can join us here today. But in the signature to open the show earlier in the week, Sasha Banks and Naomi were not in there because they were taken out many months ago. And today, when this show went on the air, look who reappeared in the opening signature of the show. It was Sasha Banks and Naomi. So make of that what you will. I saw the video Sasha Banks put up the other day. She was teasing something big, something that she has been waiting, she said, 6 months for. Could be a tease for something much bigger than wrestling, but I'm sure that's going to get a lot of people talking coming out of this show here today, seeing the two of them back in the opening signature. Michael Cole and Wade Barrett were on the call for the pay-per-view, and the show opened in a very big way. It opened with Brock Lesnar, one-on-one with Bobby Lashley. You got to get Brock on early so Brock can get on out of there. Even PW Insider said that they put the match on first so that Brock could immediately leave, get on a plane, and go back home. Brock could very well be sitting in his lazy boy already. He could be sitting on his lazy boy with the remote in his hand. Brock was not waiting around. So we had the Solomonster sign on camera before the first match even started. Again, Fawaz, you're a beast. So this is a match I was looking forward to. Maybe the match I was looking forward to the most here on this card. I wanted to see the match the first time at the Royal Rumble. I thought it was disappointing. This was better than the Royal Rumble match. It was nothing blow away by any means. But I was pretty happy until the finish. The finish, they were going for something. I felt like it didn't exactly come off the way that maybe they had hoped. But Lashley went after Lesnar on the floor even before the bell. He shoved Lesnar knees first into the ring steps, and Lesnar took a bump over the steps. And immediately, Lesnar, he comes up lame on the left knee, and he is selling a knee injury. Here comes Lashley in for the spear. He takes down Brock. They end up back in the ring for the first time. And Lashley gives him a second spear. Brock rolls out to the floor. Lashley follows him outside, and Lashley spears him through the barricade by the timekeeper's area, which is such an overdone spot. You know, and with Brock in particular, how many times have we seen that spot with Brock alone? The spear through the barricade. But it's not just Brock. I just think it's one of those overdone spots that needs to be put away for 6 months or a year before they bring it back. Back in the ring, Lashley hit another spear. He went for the pin, but Brock kicked out. So now he's setting up for the Hurt Lock. He tries for it, but he's not able to get it. Brock slips out, hits the first German suplex of the match, then another, and one thing that became very clear to me watching him take these German suplexes is that Bobby Lashley has not learned anything new since the Royal Rumble. He still takes the German suplexes on his shoulder, which is just asking for trouble. So he took a few of those. Lashley, though, ends up being scooped up. Brock hits the F5, goes for the pin. Bobby kicks out at 2. Lashley clotheslines Lesnar out over the top rope, and he follows him out to the floor. Hey, look who it is. It's your boy, Hobo. It's your boy, Hobo. I'm saving the yes chance for, we'll do 35 and above for the yes chance. But your boy, Hobo with the Bully the Clown. Again, I'll be reading all your super chats if you send one in. So get them on in. We'll be doing that a little bit later. But Lashley went outside. and he got Brock up on his shoulders in an F5 position, but instead of giving him an F5, he rammed the side of Lesnar's head into the ring post. So back inside, Lashley hits another spear. What was this, number 5? I think that spear number 5, I believe, of the match. But before he can hit the spear, he only went for it. Brock scooped him up out of midair for the F5. Bobby slipped out, hit him with a spine buster. So Lashley was getting a lot of boos here, which was surprising to me. Brock was, I don't want to put it on the same level because Hogan was always treated like a god in Toronto. But you know how it didn't matter if Hogan was a heel or a babyface, but Toronto, they always loved Hogan. Whatever the reason was, Hogan was always over in Toronto. I think Brock is just always over in Saudi Arabia. And they just liked Brock so much that whoever he was going to be in the ring with, they were going to boo the other guy. So they were booing Bobby Lashley here. You would think he came into this match as the heel. So again, he was setting up for the Hurt Lock. To be honest with you, if you look at the way the match was structured with Bobby going after Brock on the outside, he was almost booked in a way where Lashley was coming off as the heel. He set up for the Hurt Lock. This time he got the hands clasped, so he got the hold applied. Brock was struggling to break the grip. Crowd was trying to rally behind him. He was starting to fade, and Bobby got him down to one knee. And the referee, Dan Engler, he lifted the arm. It dropped once. He lifted the arm. It dropped twice. He lifted the arm for a third time. This time the arm did not drop. I wish they would be more consistent with this. The way WWE used to always do this spot for years was you would lift the arm once, you would lift it twice, and then you would lift it a third time. And if the guy's arm fell, you would call for the bell. Usually the babyface, the arm would drop, but then it would shoot back up, right? A big dramatic spot. And then in recent years, I feel like, as MMA got bigger and everything, it just became, to make it more realistic, the referee would check on the person, and if it looked like they were out, they would drop the arm once, and then that's it. Which, honestly, that makes more sense. If this were a real fight, and somebody looks like they've passed out in a chokehold, you're not going to go, 1, 2, 3. You're going to fucking call for the bell. But we just had SmackDown last night, not even 24 hours ago. It was taped last week, but we had SmackDown last night, Shayna Baszler and Natalya, and I'm almost positive that in that match, they did the spot where the referee lifted the arm, it fell once, and he called for the bell. So all I'm asking for, if you're going to do that spot, is just be a little more consistent with it. That's all. So Lesnar kept the arm up. He was still in it. Got to his feet. He managed to kick his feet off the top turnbuckle. That sent the momentum of both men backwards. And Brock fell backwards on top of Bobby. And he pinned Bobby Lashley's shoulders to the mat for the count of 3. They dusted off the old Bret Hart spot for the finish of this match, but it just came off very flat. I know why they did it. It just did not come off well. It was a very anticlimactic finish, I thought, to the match. I thought the match was a good sprint up until this point, and it was a good way to protect Lashley, because this way Lashley does not have to tap to the Kimura. Lashley does not have to eat an F5 and get pinned like so many other people before him. He lost, but he dominated. And the other thing it does now, and I said this last night, I think we're going to get a third match, which is why I had picked Brock to win, because you need Brock to win if you're going to do a rubber match between these two. Bobby already beat him once before. Brock has to win match number 2 for there to be a reason to even put them back together again. Well, now that's what they've done. Bobby won at the Royal Rumble. Brock won here at Crown Jewel. Now you can do a third deciding match between the two of them. But again, Bobby was completely dominant here for a good portion of this match. Wade Barrett on commentary flat out said Lesnar got his ass kicked by Bobby Lashley. So even on commentary, they were pushing the commentators to, again, push the narrative that this was all Bobby Lashley, and it was just one mistake at the very end of the match, and that's what cost him in the end. Lashley was not happy. He reapplied the Hurt Lock after the match, kept it on for a little while before letting go. Brock was really selling the neck. He was holding the neck and making sure that he can move his head around. He sold the shit out of his knee at the beginning of the match. Brock, one of the more underrated attributes of Brock Lesnar, and I feel like this has always been the case, but especially since he came back, 10 years ago, he's great at selling. The way he sells is very different than somebody like Dolph Ziggler, but he's very good at selling. And if he sells for you, I mean, he'll bump around for you like a madman. And so he was selling his ass off here in this match here. But now they can run this thing back either at the Royal Rumble again, or more likely, I think this is going to be the match at WrestleMania. When I look ahead to WrestleMania, and Triple H has said that he and his team have things booked out through WrestleMania, and they're already planning creative into the spring and summer months, right? Long-term booking. So they're looking ahead. I'm sure they already have all this mapped out. I don't see an obvious opponent for either man. I look to WrestleMania next year. Who else would face Bobby Lashley? I don't have an obvious opponent for him. Brock Lesnar. I don't have an obvious opponent for him. Put the two of them together, problem solved. I think we're going to get the third match at WrestleMania. I enjoyed this, though. I enjoyed this more than I did their Royal Rumble match, and I still feel like there's a better match in them. I'm hoping the third match is the best match of the trilogy. So WWE is going to be using Black Sabbath's War Pigs as the official theme song for War Games at Survivor Series this year. We got the first commercial for it tonight. They also confirmed that it will be teams of 5 against each other. They said 10 people, 10 superstars, however they phrased it. So if there was any wonder about whether or not they might go 4-on-4, I mean, I figured they would work it the exact same way they worked it in NXT. But it's going to be 5-on-5 for the War Games matches, as it should be. We had Asuka and Alexa Bliss defending their newly won women's tag team titles against Dakota Kai and Io Sky of Damage Control. Before the match began, went to the back, Byron Saxton was doing an interview with Asuka and Alexa Bliss. And he asked them, how prepared do you feel you are to defend the titles, given that you just won them 5 days ago? And Alexa started talking, and she said, look, we've been preparing for this moment for months. And she was briefly distracted because in the middle of her interview, on the monitor, on the screen behind her, there was a glitch, and they showed the Bray Wyatt moth logo. And then they took it down. So she was momentarily distracted, like she was almost, in a bit of a trance, and then she kind of, shook it off, and she continued her interview. That was not a mistake. So for anybody wondering if Alexa Bliss is done with Bray Wyatt, or I should say if Bray Wyatt is done with Alexa Bliss, I feel like this was just a little tease to let you know that there is going to be something going on here. They're going to have some kind of callback to their past history together. Otherwise, why would they do that at the exact moment that Alexa Bliss is on screen? Now, that was the only moment like that we had on the entire show. During her match, there was nothing. During the Bray segment later, there was nothing with her. But I'm sure that this was not done by accident. There's a purpose behind this. So they made their way out to the ring, and Michael Cole did acknowledge on commentary that there is a history. As they were coming out, he talked about there being a history between Bray and Alexa. So Asuka and Io getting in the ring together for the first time here in this match got a reaction. The people in Saudi Arabia liked seeing the two of them in the ring together. We got another Triple Tails reference on commentary from Michael Cole, who talked about the faction they used to be in many years ago in Japan. It was Asuka, it was Io. Remember Io and Mio? Mio is Io's sister. Asuka and Bliss hit an assisted jawbreaker on Dakota Kai, and then took down Kai and Sky on the outside with stereo hip attacks. Sky hit a springboard drop kick to Asuka. Asuka had been sitting on the top rope, and so she gets drop kicked. She falls backwards, and now she's stuck hanging over the rope in a Tree of Woe position. And Dakota drop kicked Asuka to the floor. She starts selling the right knee. Dakota worked on the knee for a while, tagged out to Io. Asuka escaped, made the hot tag to Bliss, and Bliss went on this pretty good flurry of offense here for a little bit. Alexa nailed Dakota with a tornado DDT, followed that with a code red to Io Sky for a near fall. Bliss went up top. She was setting up for Twisted Bliss. Io climbed up on the apron for the momentary distraction, and Dakota made her way over, and Asuka, they did a Tower of Doom spot with Alexa. Alexa got the worst of it. Bliss went for Twisted Bliss, but Io, actually, this was the Twisted Bliss attempt here. she went on top for something else before, but Twisted Bliss attempt, Io distracts. That led to Dakota getting the knees up when Alexa does come off the top rope, just buried the knees in her midsection. Io tried for a springboard moonsault to the floor. Asuka moved and Io landed on her feet. As they were fighting, this distracted the referee, who was paying attention to what they were doing outside. Alexa Bliss is back up on top, and she's once again going to try here for Twisted Bliss. Referee is distracted, and who shows up but Nikki Cross? And Nikki Cross ends up giving Alexa a whiplash off the top, lays her out, and then quickly scurries out to the floor before the referee can see her. Dakota Kai crawls over and covers Alexa and gets the pin to regain the women's tag team titles for Damage Control. So they did the title change on Monday night just so that they could do a title change in Saudi Arabia. That is literally the only reason that we got a title change on Monday, a title change that was completely unnecessary. But that's why they did it. I will say this. This was the best of the women's tag team title matches that we have seen in the last several months. And this was better than the match they even had on Monday night, which was not a bad match. This was better than that. This was as good as I have seen a Damage Control match since they debuted and since they were put together. The energy from the crowd helped out a lot. The crowd was really into this. They were giving them "this is awesome" chants at one point. I mean, the crowd was definitely into everything they were doing. And Alexa Bliss, I want to give her flowers here, because Alexa Bliss in particular, I thought, looked really good. This was as good as I've seen Alexa Bliss in the ring since she came back. Especially that little flurry of offense after she got the hot tag and she got back, into the ring. And she was just, everything that she was doing, I thought looked crisp. It looked good. And so now it also sets up Damage Control. Now that we have Crown Jewel out of the way, we are heading into War Games at Survivor Series, and I presume it sets up Damage Control to play a very big part in the War Games match. Although there was something very surprising that happened later on in the show, which we'll get to when we talk about the Raw Women's title match. Byron Saxton was in the parking lot, and he pulled on up to Logan Paul when he got out of the car. He arrived with his entourage. And he had his co-hosts with him from his podcast. He had his brother with him. Jake Paul was there with a title belt draped over his shoulder. I've never seen this belt before. I guess he has his own custom belt. It looks, honestly, the belt that he had on his shoulder looked like what I figured the new NXT championship would have looked like during the 2.0 era, when they still had the paint blotches. This belt would have fit in perfectly with that version of NXT. I don't know what kind of belt this was. I don't know where he got it from. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. And Logan said that all it takes is one lucky punch. That was the whole story heading into the main event here. One lucky punch is all it takes, and he could become the new champion. We had Drew McIntyre one-on-one with Karrion Kross in a steel cage match, pinfall, submission, and escape the cage rules for this match. McIntyre started off with the advantage. He laid out Kross with a back suplex. Kross cut him off, tried to climb. McIntyre met him on the top rope, and Kross crotched McIntyre as he started to gain control. Drew tried to come back with a Michinoku driver for a near fall. McIntyre went up top with Kross. Kross, though, started to fight back, and he put McIntyre in a Tree of Woe position. McIntyre fell backwards. Then he used his core strength to muscle himself up. He sat up, he grabbed Kross, and he chucked him halfway across the ring off the top rope. Kross cut off Drew with a knee. McIntyre fought back with the spine buster. Kross hit the Saito suplex. McIntyre ducked the cross hammer, hit the Future Shock DDT. So Drew is getting ready for the Claymore kick. Goes into the corner, he starts the countdown. Scarlett sees this, and Scarlett, who is outside the cage, climbed halfway up the cage, and she is yelling at Drew. She is doing what she can to distract him. And it works long enough to allow Kross to hit the cross hammer to the back of Drew's head. So now Kross starts scaling the cage, and he nearly made it over. McIntyre, though, managed to get up there just in time, and he stopped him, and he delivered a huge superplex from the top of the cage. Now, I don't want you to picture that Drew was standing on the very top of the cage. He wasn't. He was a little further down, but Kross was on top. Basically, his body was draped over the cage, and he got superplexed. He took the brunt of that all the way down. Traveled a long distance down. McIntyre attempted to escape through the cage door, but when the referee opened the door, here comes Scarlett, and she maced him in the face again. She maced Drew McIntyre in the face. Not only did she mace McIntyre, she maced the referee for good measure. Maybe he made a pass at her, and she felt like she had to defend herself. I don't know what the referee said to her. Maybe the referee made a very crude comment. I'm sure everybody in this chat would surely be maced. So the referee now can't see. He's been maced. Kross attempted to crawl out through the open door. McIntyre, though, was able to stop him. He applied an ankle lock. Kross fought back. McIntyre cut him off with a kick. So now Scarlett closes the cage door, which was open. She closes it, and she starts to lock the door. And McIntyre sees this, and he's like, you got to be kidding me. And she manages to lock the door, and she's waving the key around. So Drew sees, she's like, you can't win, right? So McIntyre instead starts to climb the cage. And Scarlett realizes, oh shit. And she quickly goes to unlock the door so that she can allow her man to try to crawl out. So it turned into a race. McIntyre ended up winning by jumping down. He hit the floor first for the win. I like this a lot more than I like their strap match at Extreme Rules. I did not think that was a very good match. I like this a lot more. Kross had to win last month. Karrion Kross had to win at Extreme Rules, and he did. That was his first big match since coming back to WWE. He had to win. And so that was the right outcome for that show. Here, the roles were reversed, where Drew McIntyre has taken a couple of big losses. Drew McIntyre was not made to look great at Clash at the Castle, going into Cardiff and losing the way that he did. So he loses at Clash at the Castle. He loses at Extreme Rules, both times due to outside interference. But he's still a two-time loser. Drew needed this win more than Karrion Kross did. All Kross had to do was look competitive and hang with him, and he did. I think that they did what they needed to do here. And the stipulation being what it is with the cage, pinfall and submission were allowed, but he wasn't pinned. He didn't tap out. It turned into a rat race. Who would get out of the cage first? So Drew McIntyre, he beat him in a race. I would hardly call that a burial of Karrion, because I'm already seeing messages. Oh, Triple H, I thought Karrion Kross was Triple H's boy. How could he bury him like that? He took him all the way out to Saudi Arabia just to bury him. No, he didn't. They did everything they could to protect Kross. Look, I'm not fond of the constant interference by Scarlett. This man is incapable of winning a match on his own. That's the main kind of message that I keep getting when I see him. He is incapable of winning a big match without his significant other helping him. And that, I think, you don't need her to interfere every single time. I don't think it's necessary every single time. That's my one major critique about how they've booked him so far, but otherwise, Kross is going to come out of this just fine. He'll live to fight another day. I don't think this is over between them, because now they're one win apiece. Kind of like Brock and Bobby. It would make sense to do a third match. I didn't have anything wrong otherwise with what they did here, and I thought it was a pretty good match. So Byron Saxton, he got the interview earlier with Logan Paul when he arrived in the parking lot. So what's good for one is good for the other. This time he got an interview with the Bloodline as they arrived. Their Escalade pulled up. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, the Usos, and Paul Heyman. No Sami Zayn, who does not come to these shows. He asked Roman Reigns for his comments on Logan's remarks earlier that all it takes is one lucky punch. And Roman just looked at him and he walked off. And Solo Sikoa stared down Saxton, kind of took his hand and lowered the microphone down. He walked off. Paul Heyman stopped, though. He gave him some comments, and basically he said that Logan will never hit that one lucky punch. Let me just break here to welcome all the people who are tuned in here. A rare afternoon stream here on Saturday. This is, of course, your Crown Jewel 2022 review, which I'm sure you all know since it says that on screen. And we are about to talk about the six-man tag. It was the Judgment Day. Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio, with Rhea Ripley in their corner, taking on AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and the never open-weight champion of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Karl Anderson, who was supposed to be defending his title today in Osaka. Instead, he was in Saudi Arabia. Michael Cole gave us a Bullet Club history lesson before this match started. He talked about how Finn Balor was the originator of the group and the history with him and Styles and Karl Anderson and Gallows. First time we've had the Bullet Club mentioned here on WWE programming. Rhea Ripley was dressed in all black. She had her hair done up in the same style as Beth Phoenix's hairdo, the last time we saw Beth. And Michael Cole said that Rhea pulled him aside earlier in the day and mentioned that she was wearing her hair like that as a tribute to, and I quote, the late, great Beth Phoenix. So a few minutes into the match, Dominic took a powder out to the floor. Karl Anderson followed him out, and he ended up getting a big boot from Damian Priest. So the heels worked over Anderson for a long time until finally he made the tag to Gallows. Eventually, they set up for the Magic Killer. Priest ran in. He broke it up. Anderson ducked a clothesline that led to Damian Priest tumbling out to the floor. Dominic rolled up Anderson for two. Anderson and Dominic threw simultaneous clotheslines. And both men ended up tagging out to AJ Styles and Finn Balor, which is what I'm sure a lot of people were waiting on. This is the match that a lot of people, I think, are most interested in when it comes to all the people who were involved here. Remember, we got Styles and Balor many years ago. It might have been 5 years ago now. On one of the pay-per-views they did, when it was supposed to be Balor and Bray Wyatt. That's right. That was going to be the match where Bray... Oh, we dodged a bullet with this one. That was the match where Bray, I think, was supposed to be dressed up as Sister Abigail. He was going to be dressed in drag, I guess, or whatever it was, but what did he end up with? He didn't end up... This was before COVID. He ended up with something else. There was some outbreak of some kind of virus. Was it the mumps? I think it was a mumps outbreak. There was some kind of mumps outbreak, and I think Bray wasn't allowed to wrestle. So if I remember, that was the night I think they brought in AJ. And we got AJ and Balor, and they had a great match, and they did the Too Sweet sign at the end. So anyway, here we are now all these years later. We get them back in the ring. Styles got the better of Finn. He slapped Priest. He threw a knee from the apron at Dominic, who was on the floor. Styles turned back to Balor. He was setting up for a Styles clash. Balor, though, pushed him into the corner, and Balor avoided a calf crusher. He rolled Styles into a leg lock that Karl Anderson broke up with a senton. Balor put AJ down with an inverted DDT, went up top for the double stomp, but Styles cut him off. AJ set up for a super kick. Dominic grabbed AJ's leg to stop it, but he got taken out. There was a big spot where Gallows had Dominic and Priest had Anderson on their shoulders. And they both had them in position for an electric chair, and they dropped them backwards at the exact same time that Styles superplexed Balor off the top. So AJ was setting up for the phenomenal forearm, and here comes Rhea Ripley. Rhea pulls him off the apron onto her shoulders, and then drops AJ face first onto the ring apron. And Michael Cole was so disgusted by this. He was shrieking. He said, "This is ridiculous. Somebody's got to kick her ass." And I'm thinking, whoa, easy there, Cole. You volunteering for the spot? Michael Cole could take no more. He finally reached his breaking point tonight with all the Rhea Ripley interference. And he said, somebody needs to kick this woman's ass. So Balor hit the coup de grace on Styles. He ended up pinning him to win it for the Judgment Day, which surprised me. I thought the OC would go over. But Judgment Day wins again. I thought this was a good match. Pretty basic stuff. Honestly, there were no bad matches on this show. There were no bad matches. There were some matches that were average, and then there were some very good matches. But I would not say that there was really a bad match on the entire card. The Rhea interference is getting old. I feel the same way Michael Cole does. Somebody has to kick this woman's ass. Question is, who's it going to be? It's going to be Beth Phoenix, right? She was doing her hair up like her tonight. We're just waiting on Edge and Beth Phoenix to make their return. I think it probably happens on Monday. I think we'll probably see it on Raw this Monday night. I thought maybe we would get it tonight, again, today, I should say. I thought we would get it on the show. It didn't happen. I think it'll probably happen on TV on Monday. But there have been other rumors about the OC bringing in a female not named Beth Phoenix to try to counteract Rhea Ripley. And the name that I've seen floated around, which is interesting because she's on the SmackDown roster, is Raquel Rodriguez. Now, Raquel and Rhea are legitimate friends, but they had this on-screen friendship back in their NXT days. And in fact, the last time, I think it was right before Rhea got the call up, she had this great match on TV with Raquel. It was some stipulation. It might have been Falls Count Anywhere. So there's a history between them. And, Rhea is this powerhouse, right? We saw her body slamming Gallows on TV a few weeks ago. Well, so is Raquel. Raquel comes out on SmackDown and she's posing like she's, a bodybuilder. So it would kind of make sense if the OC wanted to bring in somebody to counteract Rhea, and Beth is not going to come back, let's say, right away. Raquel would make sense, although that would require them to shift her over from SmackDown to Raw, which, honestly, it's not like she's doing anything better on SmackDown. They just keep sticking her in these random tag teams. So that's just a rumor that's been going around, something to keep an eye out for if Beth does not show up on Monday. And then it was time for the Battle of the Giants. And, when I said there was not a bad match on the entire show, I had my eyes on this. Because I said, if there was going to be a match on this show that shits the bed, this was going to be it. It was Braun Strowman, one-on-one against Omos. No MVP with Omos since he was annihilated on SmackDown last night, and I don't believe he's able to travel anyway to Saudi Arabia. Omos, at the very beginning of this, and he was very chatty in this match. Somebody got in his ear and said, look, you need to talk throughout this match. You got to show that you're full of yourself. Talk that shit as you beat this guy down, because he was just yapping the entire time. And so he puts his giant palm up in the air, and Strowman agreed to a test of strength to start things off. Omos, though, quickly buried a knee in Strowman's gut. He whipped Braun into the corner. Strowman went down. Braun got back up, and Omos hit a running avalanche in the corner to take him back down, hit him with a boot to the face. So Omos was totally dominating here in the early 2 minutes of this match. Omos continues to talk shit. I'm the only giant. Watch what I do. Strowman made a comeback. He tried to slam him. He couldn't get him up. Omos came back with a body slam of his own. Then he picked up Braun and slammed him again. But this time, just to be extra impressive and show off, he held him up there for a while. And it is amazing, I will say, because Braun is he is no small man. I mean, Braun is a big fucking SOB. And Omos just picking him up like that and holding him in the air, made him look like a fucking cruiserweight here. So he slams him down. At another point, he beeled Strowman out of the corner, which is not something we usually see. Braun eventually clotheslined Omos out over the top rope. He had to do it twice. He didn't go over the first time, but he clotheslined him a second time. Out went Omos. He landed on his feet. So then Braun sees Omos on the floor, right? And he can't help himself. He has to start winding up. He's winding up for the Strowman Express. So he crawls under the bottom rope. He exits the ring. Here comes the Strowman Express, and the Strowman Express runs right into a fucking wall. He runs right into Omos. Omos doesn't budge. Down goes Braun. Back in the ring, Omos grabbed him for what looked to be the tree slam. He was going for his finish. Braun powered out of it. Strowman ended up in the corner. Omos came in for a corner splash, but Strowman moved out of the way just in time. And then he picked up Omos to give him the running power slam, and he pinned him. So, all it took was one move, like Logan Paul in the main event. All it takes is one lucky punch. All it took for Braun Strowman to get the win here was the one power slam. He rocked the big guy, and Braun Strowman wins the Battle of the Giants. This was the best match of Omos's life. Of all the matches that he has had in his short career, and that includes all of the tag team matches that he had with AJ Styles at his side. This was, in my opinion, the best that I have seen Omos in the ring, the most confident that I have seen him in the ring. He did all the big man spots. He wasn't out there trying to do stuff that he's not equipped to do, Braun, to his credit, was out there selling his ass off and bumping his ass off for this guy, trying to make him look like this just giant monster, so that he can make his big comeback and beat him in the end. And what they did here was good. Now, I thought this was less good. I know that's not good English, but this was less good than the opener. But I thought that, look, I thought this was going to be an ugly affair. This had the potential to be very ugly, and it wasn't. They went in there. I thought they worked a smart match, a short match. It didn't go very long. They didn't, drag this out for too long. And I thought that what they did here was perfectly fine. They had a perfectly fine match, and Braun Strowman should have gone over. You cannot have Braun Strowman lose this match, because Braun Strowman is somebody who you can build for a match with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns needs more challengers before he gets to WrestleMania. And so if he needs opponents, you look at the SmackDown roster. Braun Strowman's on the SmackDown roster. Just came back. He's got a history with Roman Reigns. They've worked together. He and Roman have actually had some pretty good matches before. You can use Braun at the Royal Rumble. You could use Braun at some other pay-per-view between now and Mania as a potential opponent. Build him up for Roman Reigns. Don't beat him by, at the hands of Omos. Omos is not going anywhere. Omos is, again, the ceiling for him. I mean, his fucking head is already hitting the ceiling. That's about as far as Omos is going to go. But Braun, you could get more out of him by doing a match or a program with him and Roman. So it would have been stupid, in my opinion, to beat him here. So I thought Triple H realized the same thing, and he went with the correct winner in this match. We had the Usos defending the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship against Butch and Ridge Holland, the Brawling Brutes. Jey Uso, this was the first concerning sign here in this match. Jey Uso came out, and he had a sleeve on his arm, and his right wrist was all wrapped up. And Michael Cole said that the wrist might be broken. He talked to Jey earlier in the day. He said that Jey thinks the wrist may be broken. He heard it on the European tour. But he said Jey was not going to leave his brother high and dry. And if they win tonight, he will be there on Friday to defend those tag team titles against Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. That would be awful. If his wrist is really broken, and just the way he was working, I would be very surprised if it was. If it's a legitimate wrist injury, maybe it's a sprain. I mean, what he was doing out there, it wasn't like he just stood on the apron and wasn't doing much, right? And then he came back out at the very end of the show to interfere in the main event, and he was taking bumps and he was doing stuff. If the wrist was broken, he would not be out there doing all of that stuff. And if they thought that there was a very serious chance it was broken, I doubt they would have allowed him to go out there. If anything, they would have had Solo Sikoa slide into his spot. So I am hopeful that the wrist injury, if there really is one, and this isn't just for storyline reasons, I don't see what storyline purpose it serves, because it really didn't play into the match at all. It wasn't like the Brawling Brutes were spending long periods of time working over the wrist, and it didn't really play much into the match. If it's a legitimate injury, hopefully it's nothing serious. Yes, they could always slide in Sami Zayn to take his place. They could always slide in Solo Sikoa to take his place. But this is the worst possible thing that could happen, would be for one of the members of the Bloodline and one of the Usos to go down to an injury. Now, I watched Jey in this match, and he looked good, but we'll get to Jimmy here in a second. There were "We want Sammy" chants during the match. Jey yelled back at them, "You're not getting Sammy." Butch cut off Jimmy with a tornado DDT. Ridge Holland came in. He ran wild on both Usos. After laying out both men, Holland paid tribute to Sheamus with 9 punches. The 9 beats of the bow to Jey's chest outside on the apron. Butch hit a moonsault on Jey for a near fall. Usos came back with super kicks as Jimmy hit a splash on Butch. Butch, though, on his way down, Butch grabbed him into a triangle position. Jimmy managed to tag Jey back in, and the two hit a double splash on Butch for a near fall. Ridge Holland broke it up at the very last moment. And this right here, and I went back and I watched it over again. This right here is where it looked to me like Jimmy may have hurt his shoulder, because up to this point, he looked fine. I didn't really notice him favoring the shoulder at all. But coming out of the splash, he clearly was favoring the shoulder and was trying not to use it for the rest of the match. Holland hit White Noise for a near fall in tribute to Sheamus. Butch went to the top rope. He did not see Jay tag in Jimmy. And that allowed the Usos to hit a super 1D off the ropes on Butch for the win. The match was good. It was, again, a very basic tag team match. There was no drama because nobody in their right fucking mind expected the Brawling Brutes to win the championships. We knew that it was going to be the Usos and the real drama is in Friday. The real drama is in the New Day trying to stop these two guys from breaking their record. If the Brawling Brutes win, I mean, it kills the whole thing. So it wouldn't have made any sense. So what kind of took the match down is that there was no drama about the outcome. And I was happy to see Jay doing as much as he was with the wrist injury. I'm telling you, though, the bigger issue is going to be Jimmy. And I would love it to just be a non-factor and nothing comes out of this. But that had me more worried, honestly, than anything I saw with Jey Uso, was the shoulder. And you watch Jimmy at the end of that match, and Jay went to go raise his arm, and he said something to him like, "Don't lift my arm," and it was kind of at his side. That would be a disaster. And again, same thing where they could always slot somebody in. In fact, if Jimmy goes down to an injury, imagine Sami Zayn taking his place. Now Jey Uso has to be tag team champions with Sami Zayn. There are ways to spin the story and make it work to your advantage, but heading into War Games, if they're going to have the Bloodline in War Games, this would be an absolutely terrible time for any member of the Bloodline to go down with any sort of serious injury. So hopefully it is nothing major. We had Bianca Belair against Bayley. This was a last woman standing match for the Raw Women's Championship, which meant that there were no disqualifications, which meant lots of plunder. We had to have at least one match on this show with kendo sticks. You knew we weren't going to get out of Saudi Arabia without one kendo stick at least, if not other assorted weapons making an appearance. You know, we had that on SmackDown with Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville last night. We had the garbage match here. They had a cool spot early in the match where Bayley hit a running clothesline off the barricade. So she's standing on top of the barricade at ringside by the aisleway. And she has Bianca seated in a chair. And she dives off the barricade with a clothesline, and she clotheslines Bianca out of the chair. And then Bayley brings out the lumber from underneath the ring as she sets a table up on the floor. Bianca comes back. She suplexes Bayley on the ramp. Bayley is now pretending to have injured her knee. And the referee goes over to check on her. The referee is backing up Bianca. Remember, Bayley was out for a year. She had the ACL injury. So she's selling that her knee might be hurt, but she was only pretending. And she used that as an opportunity to then jump Bianca. Bayley dragged her, though, over by the ring apron, and she pinned Bianca behind the ring steps. So you got to picture this. Bayley moved the ring steps over. She has Bianca pinned between the steps and the apron, and then she hit her, and Bianca fell. You couldn't even see her. And the idea was she's trying to trap her, right? She even grabbed the ladder, and she tried to place the ladder on top of the ring steps. She was trying to, like, box her in so she couldn't respond before the count of 10, which, of course, she did. So Bianca was able to get out of that. Belair gave Bayley a spine buster on the floor. They ended up battling up the ramp all the way onto the stage. Bayley blocked a kendo stick shot, gave Bianca a belly to Bayley on the stage. Bianca got up before the count of 10. And Bayley had disappeared. She had vanished. And when she reappeared at the far end of the stage, we saw Bayley in a golf cart. And Bayley is getting ready to run this woman over in cold blood. Whatever she needs to do to become the Raw Women's Championship, to become the champion. Bianca doesn't see her at first. Bianca turns around. Now, there's still quite a bit of distance at this point between Bianca and Bayley. And it's not like Bayley is driving this. I mean, I can't even imagine the maximum speed on one of those things. 30 miles an hour, maybe. So she's not driving very fast. But there's enough of a lead time where Bianca could easily just sidestep and get out of the way. And instead, Bianca is just standing there and she's waiting for Bayley to get closer. And then finally, she just kind of, walks around and reaches in and starts beating her up. But it reminded me almost of the steamroller scene from the first Austin Powers movie in terms of like, okay, this looks a little ridiculous here. So Bayley tries to get away. She climbs on top of the roof of the golf cart. Bianca follows her up, and she starts raining blows down on this woman. Bianca climbs back down and gets into the golf cart. She starts the engine, and she drives the golf cart all the way down the ramp with Bayley on top of the roof. Okay, so you got to visualize this. She drives the golf cart all the way back down to ringside. Now remember, Bayley had set a table up outside the ring. The table is still sitting there. Bianca drives it up almost right up until the table. She gets out of the golf cart. She reaches up. She grabs a hold of Bayley, who's still on the roof. And the idea was that she would yank Bayley off the top of the golf cart, and Bayley would crash through the table, right? It would have been this great visual. Unfortunately, things don't always work out. Tables are not always very cooperative when you try to use them. She yanks Bayley off the roof. Bayley crashes on top of the table. The table does not break. I am the table. And she bounced off of it. Like the back of her head and neck. Bounces off the edge of the table, and she lands on the floor. That looked like it was not fun. I would imagine that was not a fun bump for this woman to take. So then they decide we're going to go to plan B. And plan B was simply Bianca gets her up in a powerbomb position, and she powerbombs Bayley through the table. This time the table did break, and Bayley barely made it back to her feet by the count of 9. So this match must continue. That's right. I am the table indeed. The table puts over no one. So you've got to win the table over. If the table likes you, table's like Andre. If Andre didn't like you, he's not going to work with you. But if Andre liked you, he'll cooperate. But if you get on his bad side, it's going to be a bad day for you. So either you get over with the table, you better show up at the building that day, you better bring flowers, you better bring a bottle of Jack Daniels. You bring whatever you need to bring, whatever gift you feel you need to bring to make sure that the table will treat you the way that you want to be treated. I look forward to the Hall of Fame induction for the table. I guess the question is, who or what inducts the table into the Hall of Fame? What do you think? The ladder, maybe? Should the ladder induct the table? What wrestler is most synonymous with tables? I feel like that person should be the one inducting the table into the Hall of Fame. So Bianca is bringing a bunch of chairs into the ring. And she goes up top. She's going to go for the 450 splash. Bayley moves out of the way, and Bianca lands face first right into the pile of chairs. Belair makes it back up by the 9 count. And I mean, this was a little suspect here. Because the referee said she made it back up, but not really. But he went with it. He said, she's back up on her feet. She let that get a little too close. Bayley is attempting to set up a ladder, though. The ladder that was introduced earlier on in the match. Bianca fought back. She delivered a KOD onto the top of a seated chair. And if you go back and watch the replay, it looked like Bayley actually reached down and repositioned the chair to intentionally land knee first with her surgically repaired knee on top of this chair. I guess for added effect, I guess. Bianca then placed Bayley inside the ladder, flat on the mat, and she dragged the ladder over to the corner of the ring, and Bayley was simply not able to escape. She was trapped inside this ladder. She could not respond to the count of 10, and Bianca Belair retains her Raw Women's Championship here in this last woman standing match. This ended up turning into what I thought was a pretty fun match. You know, at first it was pretty, the standard plunder match that you see. I like the fact, I give them points for introducing some creative things. They tried to work some creative spots into this match. The table botch looked brutal. But, in a spot, here's my issue with this. And I can't believe, in this case, I'm actually arguing, why we should have had interference. We have interference in almost every other match. This is a spot where I cannot for the life of me, unless it's going to factor into a story they're telling, understand why would Damage Control, who were in fine shape, in fact, they won the tag team titles back earlier in the night, why would Damage Control not show up here to help Bayley in a match where there were no disqualifications? Dakota Kai and Io Sky can come out during this match, and they could interfere to their heart's content. The referee can't do anything about it. We saw Nikki Cross interfere on their behalf and help them win the tag team titles earlier in the show. Where were Damage Control? Or Nikki Cross, for that matter? This was just a straight-up match. No interference. No assistance. Logically speaking, it doesn't make sense why Damage Control would not have tried to help Bayley in this match. But now we'll see. As far as Damage Control, we're heading into War Games. We'll see what role they play. I suspect they'll play a very important role in that War Games match on the women's side. Next up, before the main event, was the Bray Wyatt segment. They announced a week ago that Bray Wyatt would be on this card because they wanted to make sure they got him on the show in some way. So he got the full entrance with the door swings open. Right, the whole presentation. He got the whole full presentation here in Saudi. We got to hear the extended version of his song for the first time, and it's great. The more I listen to it, the more I like it. And I'm just waiting on them to release it. I don't know what's taking them so long. Hey, Code Orange, or WWE, or whoever's responsible for this, get the music up. Push it out to Spotify. So Bray got welcome back chants. We'll forget what happened the last time he was in Saudi Arabia. I've tried to scrub that from my memory. He says, "My name is Bray Wyatt. There was a time where I would have done anything to make sure that when you left this building, you knew exactly who I am. Here's something a lot of you probably don't know about me. I come from a very prestigious family." He says, "I come from a wrestling family." This is the first time in all the years he's been doing this character on the main roster that we have heard Bray refer to the fact that he comes from a wrestling family. Now, he didn't name the members of his family. He just said that he comes from a wrestling family. He says, "So from the time that I was a little child, all I ever wanted to be was great. But great was not good enough. I had to be the greatest of all of them." And that got him chants of, "Yes, you are." Which is true, right? Mike Rotunda did a lot in his career. He wrestled all over the place. NWA, WWE, WCW, tag team champion, backstage agent. He's done a lot in his career. But what his son has done and the level of notoriety that his son has far exceeds anything that Mike Rotunda ever did in his entire career. People still talk about the IRS gimmick to this day, but Bray Wyatt is a far bigger star than his father ever was. Right? Former WWE champion. His father never ascended to that. So I don't think that's even up for debate. So he goes, "Well, that's the point though, right?" Says, "I did what I thought I needed to do." Says, "I gave in. I gave in so much that I made a monster of myself. And I wore that mask with pride. And it didn't take me long to understand that while I was wearing that mask, I no longer felt pain. I no longer could be afraid." He says that I was completely untouchable in that mask. And that type of thing, that type of feeling, he says, is good. Some might say that feeling is impossible to quit. I found myself in a kingdom of nothingness, sitting on an island by myself. That monster destroyed me and ran off everybody I ever loved. So there I sat, all alone with no one to love me. And the fans chanted, 'We love you.'" Boy, it's just one big love fest here. It says, "That's the thing. No one loves me. They love the idea of me. I don't even love me." He doesn't even love himself. I didn't know if I was watching a promo or a therapy session. It says, "I don't even love me. But this doesn't have to be the ending of my story. That is not the man I want to be remembered as. My name is Bray Wyatt." He said this 3 times. Each time he got louder and louder. "My name is Bray Wyatt. My name is Bray Wyatt. My name is Bray Wyatt. And I am here to rewrite the ending to my story." And that line, I'm sure, was more shoot than anybody can imagine. You think about how his story ended last year. This is a man who I'm sure was hoping to have the chance to come back and rewrite the ending of his story. Because the ending of his story was not a very positive ending. And this run now is his chance to do just that. It's his chance to come back, to right the wrongs that were done before, and to end his story on a happier note. So at this point in the promo, he was interrupted by the latest Uncle Howdy video. It was clearly Bray's voice. And you could hear Uncle Howdy spliced in with all the clips. "Why wear a mask? It must hurt forcing yourself to be somebody that you're not. You can fool them, but you can't fool me. Do you think that they would still love you if they knew the truth? Said the truth is you're going to go too far. So just give in. You're going to remember just how good it feels. And if you're worried about the aftermath, just don't take the mask off. He said, tell me I'm wrong. So Uncle Howdy is, again, the devil on the shoulder. It's the whole angel and devil thing. And it's like Bray is trying to quit smoking or something, and the cigarette is telling him, you like the feeling. Just pick up the cigarette and put it in your mouth, right? Just embrace it, right? That's basically what's going on here. I predict, now what we see here is Bray is fighting himself. And that's the vibe that we've gotten from all of these segments so far. The man is fighting within himself. So for one, I predict that when Bray Wyatt finally steps into the ring with Bray Wyatt, that John Cena will win. Our main event of the evening, or the afternoon, I guess, depending on where you are, was Roman Reigns, 797 days as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, although if you take it all the way back to the beginning, it was just the Universal title. But we're all confused now with the whole title lineage. I have no idea what they consider to be the legitimate lineage anymore. But 797 days as champion for this man. Defending against Logan Paul in only his third professional wrestling match of his entire life. And only the second singles match, because the first match was a tag team match. This is only his second singles match of his entire career. And you look at what he did when he went out there. Put your personal feelings for Logan Paul or the Paul brothers on the side. I'm not even considering that in this moment, right? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying put those feelings aside. You look at what he has been able to do in the ring in such a short period of time. Yeah, I always talked about the wrestlers who pick things up the quickest, right? And they ascended the quickest. Kurt Angle is always the first person I think of. I think of Kurt, and then I think of Brock Lesnar. You've got to put Logan Paul on that same list. How can you not? As far as guys who have picked this up this quickly and are this good and this smooth and this fluid at it, and he's had a lot of help. I'm sure it helped a lot, training with Shawn Michaels for weeks on end at the PC. But even before he started training with Shawn Michaels for this match, you look at what he did earlier this year. He should not be able to do the things that he does with that little experience doing this. He almost makes everybody else look bad because of how good he is for his experience level. So he showed up on a giant throne on the side of the stage, and the throne slowly lowered until it was low enough for him to jump off and land on the stage. He was out there by himself at first. Michael Cole said that tonight could be his Buster Douglas moment, when Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson. No Jake Paul with him as he came down to the ring. Roman Reigns was out next, and Michael Cole pointed out the last time that Roman Reigns took a pinfall loss, and I have mentioned this on the podcast before, but it is worth repeating that the last time Roman Reigns took a pinfall loss was December of 2019. Michael Cole said almost 4 years. He was off by a year, 3 years. That's still very impressive, though. December of 2019, and do you know who the last man was to pin Roman Reigns' shoulders to the mat? Of all fucking people. It was at TLC. The last person to pin Roman Reigns was Baron Corbin. Amazing. Logan got a nice amateur takedown early, got a fireman's carry, but then he ate a right hand from Roman Reigns that put him down. Logan came back with a wild swing. He was swinging for the fences, and Roman ducked out of the way. He rolled out of the ring, right, trying to avoid all those pins and plates that they said are implanted in his fist. Trying to tell us, again, one lucky punch. He's trying to avoid the one lucky punch. Logan hit a nice leapfrog and a hip toss and then clotheslined Roman out to the floor. Paul went out after him. Roman cut him off and threw him over the barricade. But Logan came right back. He jumped up on the barricade, did a diving splash onto Roman. And then, after he rolled Roman back into the ring, Logan Paul climbs up on the apron and he delivers a buckshot lariat to Roman Reigns. Delivers a buckshot lariat for a near fall. He does the buckshot lariat better than CM Punk does. Frankly, he did the buckshot lariat better than Hangman Page sometimes does. But he definitely has CM Punk beat. As far as guys who are not used to doing this move, it's not their move, right? It's Hangman's move. You expect him to be able to do it. He does a better buckshot than CM Punk. He at least has that going for him, if nothing else. So then a huge springboard forearm attempt from Logan Paul comes off, got a ton of height, and as he's coming down, instead of hitting the punch or the forearm or whatever he was trying for, he ate a fist from Roman, who then went on the offensive for a while, and he was getting real smug about it. Logan fought out of a side headlock. Roman clotheslined him 10 times in the corner and then hit a giant clothesline coming off the ropes. He went for the cover. Logan kicked out at the count of 1. Paul made a comeback, hit a blockbuster off the top that got him a near fall, and he followed that up with his own version of a Superman punch, but he could not capitalize on it right away. But he did a Shawn Michaels kip up. He went back up to the top rope. He came off with a crossbody and then hit a standing moonsault, went for the pin, and got a very, very close near fall. So now he goes into the corner, and you could tell that he's been trained by Shawn Michaels over the last few weeks. He starts tuning up the band. He's going to deliver some sweet chin music, and he goes for the super kick. Roman intercepts what was, let's just say, of all the things that he did in this match, Logan Paul should not be bothering with the super kicks. This was not a very good attempt at a super kick, but he went for one and did not work out for him. Shout out to Elliot's Sports Gamer Pro, who just became a channel member, just became a Sound Off superstar. Hey, Elliot's, welcome to the channel. Start throwing those emojis out, by the way. All you channel members, all you, I see you guys with the badges. You got those special emojis. You better be throwing them out. I want to see those Sound Off skulls in the chat. So Roman dropped him with a Uranage. Got a close near fall out of it. Roman now is setting up for the Superman punch. Logan avoids it, and then he nails the right hand. This was the lucky right hand they've been telling us about for weeks. Reigns goes down, but then he staggers back up to his feet. Logan hits a second right hand. He goes for the most dramatic near fall of the entire match. This was the closest near fall of the night in this match, and Roman got out just in the nick of time. 2 3/4, he managed to kick out. There we go. There's all the, look at all those skulls. Oh, you see, there's just some Solomonster heads in there too. That's what I like to see. So outside the ring, Logan clears off the Arabic announce table, and he lays Roman Reigns on top of it. He goes over, and he sees his boys in the front row. Right, the 2 guys that he has with him on his Impulsive podcast, his co-hosts. He goes over and he's high-fiving them, and he grabs a smartphone from one of them, and he starts recording. And he goes up to the top rope with Roman still laying on the Arabic announce table. He climbs all the way up top. Now, we saw him do this to The Miz at SummerSlam, and it looked great. It was a great giant frog splash off the top. He did the same thing here, and he crashed through Roman Reigns and crashed through the table, only this time, as he was diving off, he had a cell phone, a smartphone in his hand recording the entire thing. I actually am looking forward to seeing what that video looks like. But held on to the phone the entire time. Looks like he smashed it on the table when he landed. But this was an incredible visual. I mean, again, the height that he gets on this is insane. And to hold a fucking phone in your hand as you're doing it, and he just crashed through the table. So this was a tremendous spot. So now out come the Usos, and they go over to the 2 bozos in the front row, right? His boys in the front row, and they drag them over the barricade. They start beating the piss out of them. They drag them into the ring. They deliver super kicks to each one of them until we hear Jake Paul's music. Here comes Jake Paul. He gets this full entrance in the middle of this match. He comes down to the ring to confront Jimmy and Jay. Jay's the first person to kind of step up to him. And Jake Paul throws a right hand, knocks down Jey Uso. Then he knocks down Jimmy. Jake then goes outside to grab Logan and tell him to get back in the ring. Logan is throwing Roman Reigns back in the ring to try to finish this guy off. He goes back up to the top rope and he hits a huge frog splash. I mean, this was Montez Ford-esque in terms of the height that he got on this fucking frog splash. And he lands it, he covers, and again, the second most dramatic near fall of the match, only gets 2.5. Now we hear Solo Sikoa's music. And here comes the enforcer of the bloodline. I love how the run-ins got full entrances here in this match. Jake Paul meets him outside, and he's squaring up, and Solo's not backing down. And here come all the agents, and Adam Pearce was out there, and Pat Buck was out there, and referees came out to try to get between them. They drag Solo Sikoa to the back. But the Usos are standing right behind Jake Paul. At first, he doesn't realize it. Then he turns around and he sees them. But now here comes Logan Paul with a giant running dive out over the top rope, and he wipes out both Usos. Logan slides back into the ring, but he walks right into a Superman punch and gets a spear, and Roman Reigns pins him, and he continues his reign as the Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Champion. Roman Reigns is still the tribal chief. Not really surprising. I don't think anybody expected otherwise here, but I will tell you this much. This was an excellent main event. I enjoyed the hell out of that main event, and what the main event showed is that they have something very special in Logan Paul. The guy is a star. And I'm not talking, oh, he's a social media star. Yeah, I know all that. In terms of wrestling, in terms of this, Logan Paul is a star. He has all the tools to be in the spot that Roman Reigns is in one day. It's not going to happen now, but he has certain physical gifts, and he has the personality, and he has charisma about him. And I still feel like he would make an incredible heel more than a babyface. Although the fans were behind him, here tonight because they wanted to see Roman Reigns lose that championship in the worst way. But he just has certain attributes, I think, that would make him long-term very successful in the wrestling business. Look how successful he's been in less than a year. 3 matches in. Look at the kind of match he was able to go out there and have. Now, Roman Reigns did his part to make him look great, right? Takes 2 to tango. Roman Reigns was selling for him. Roman Reigns, there were a couple of moments in there where I could pick up on Roman directing him and mouthing things to him, helping him along. But it wasn't like, how many times have we seen celebrities in these types of situations? And I'm not saying in a title match, but just doing wrestling and they get fucking gassed out, right? They could be in good shape, but you get gassed out because we hear the wrestlers talk about this all the time. It's very different to be in good shape cardio-wise and be in ring shape. It's not easy to do what they do and not get blown up. At no point in any of these matches has Logan Paul come across like he's blown up. He's gassed. He can't go anymore. He's all out of, the gas tank is on empty. No, I mean, he hung in there with Roman Reigns the entire time. Didn't embarrass himself, didn't, miss a couple of steps, the later it got in the match. So, he hung with him. The cameos, I thought, worked out actually very well. This was kind of the whole sports entertainment part of it done right. The cameos and the interference and everything, I thought, actually played into the fun of the match. I thought this match was a home run from start to finish. This was exactly what this match should have been. Now that the Logan Paul stuff is done and it's out of the way, we can look ahead now to War Games and how the bloodline could potentially factor into the War Games match. I think it would be silly to have a War Games match and not have the bloodline on one side. So people saying, oh, it should be the Judgment Day and teaming with a few other people, like, no. The bloodline. You have the bloodline on one side and all the people the bloodline have wronged on the other side. And who knows, maybe Logan Paul will end up being in War Games. But that's the direction that I am seeing and hoping when it comes to the participants in the War Games match. And I'm just holding out hope that the Usos are okay. And that they're just banged up and that there are no serious injuries coming out of the show, because that would be very, very bad. Very, very bad. If one Uso is hurt, you have options to kind of plug in there, but if they're both hurt, that would be a fucking disaster. Take a look at this Twitter poll here. What did you think of Crown Jewel 2022? So far, 75, almost 76% of you have given the show a thumbs up. So that is a giant thumbs up for the show overall. 16% thumbs in the middle, and roughly 8% thumbs down. So again, a very positive score. I cannot sit here and tell you that there were any bad matches on the show. You know, some were better than others. Not everything was a home run like I thought the main event was. But everything was good to great, I thought, top to bottom here on this show. So very happy as far as how that all turned out here. Now, I know I have all of your super chat message. Hey, thank you, Chadwick. I appreciate that. Got all your super chats. I'm going to be getting to that here in a second. I just want to let you guys know, before we get into all that, that if you like playing games online, whether it is on your PC, your tablet, or your phone, there is an adult arcade that you can try to win some money with. It's called the Lightning Link Lounge. And you can play slots like Lightning Link, Dragon Link, Buffalo, many others. Plus Keno, shooting games, poker games like Texas Hold'em, Blackjack, Roulette, tons of games. All from the comfort of your own home or on the go. There are thousands of games to choose from. They pay winners on a daily basis. I tried it myself. I had some luck with a game called Dragon Coin, which I thought was kind of addictive. For more information, search for Lightning Link Lounge on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. You must be 18 years or older to play. Ages may vary outside the US, and ID is required. Or you can text 727-910-8809 to get started. Now, we come to your super chats. I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about this show, and so I want to hear from you. Drop a super chat. I appreciate everybody who supports the channel. It means a great deal to me. We had some fun last night on the Smack Page stream, talking SmackDown and Rampage. And so here we are back again. Then we have a podcast tomorrow. Then we have the Raw stream on Monday night. 4 shows in 4 days. I'm ready. I'm ready. Are you ready? I've been ready. I need you guys to tell me that you're ready. Shin Akuma with the $2. Coming through with the love. Thank you, Shin. Mr. E, 1976. Here's to the tip jar. Thanks for everything that you do, Solomonster. Hey, Mr. E. I hope you're having a good day. Deep Delicious Chicken with Flavor, $5 super chat. Hopefully we get a best and worst Be the Booker video moments before the year ends. Also, I say no MJF babyface turn. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Tyler says Sasha and Naomi got re-added to the intro. This is a good sign. They are coming back very soon. Do you think they return at Survivor Series? I don't know when they return, but I would say yes. Them being added to the video is a pretty good sign. Blank from FF. For a boxer, quote unquote, Jake makes Shane's punches look deadly. I wouldn't go that far. Shane McMahon is still the king of the awful phantom punches. Flamethrower Fluff Salisbury, Solomonster, is it true that you and Brock Lesnar had a shoot fight and whoever lost had to get a tattoo on their stomach? That's right. That's why he's got the dick tattoo and I don't. Scott Woodford, I don't know if anyone noticed, but each person in Brock and Lashley's match, the one who dominated... Are you saying in every match but their match? I did not notice that. Queen Fire Panda, hey Solomonster, are we going to get a Sound Off Gamer on God of War Ragnarok? No, we are not. Black Wolf Inc. Gotta give Crown Jewel a 6 out of 10. I am certain now that Sami Zayn will be betrayed when Roman mentions Kevin Owens as his way into the family officially, baby. Rage King, favorite Candice matches. Also, love what you do. I don't have any favorite Candice matches. I think that Candice is a good wrestler, but I don't have a best of Candice LeRae list sitting around in my... Let me see. Maybe over here. No. No, I don't. It doesn't exist. Kevin Coleman with the $20 super chat. Longtime fan, but I don't usually get to watch live due to the time difference. Sending love and support from Ireland. Logan Paul won me over tonight. He is a bona fide star if they want to make it happen. If they didn't want to make it happen, he wouldn't be in that spot. So yeah, I would say that they would love to make a star out of Logan Paul. Oral, hey Oral, you're a fun one. Just wanted to show support for a podcast I've been listening to since 2015. Keep up the great work. Your boy Hobo with the $30. Just want to send some love. Been listening since 2013 and wanted to say thank you for all that you do and for keeping me engaged in wrestling when it was not so fun to watch. Well, you got to sit through the bad eventually to get to the good. I used to always say, why do I watch? Habit and hope. I always hoped that they would kind of pull their head out of their ass and get better. Of course, it took Vince McMahon going away to start going that way, and it's still not perfect, but it's definitely more enjoyable now than it was 6 months ago. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, that Bray logo during the Alexa and Asuka promo made me think, would a dark Alexa and Asuka with a Kana-like gimmick or bring Kana back as a team work? Yeah, I mean, it would work, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Google Chrome user is out on bail. Fine, all good. I was wondering what happened to you last night. He's out on bail. Who paid the bail? It wasn't me. Who would you have Logan face next? I think there's a chance Logan may end up in War Games if the Bloodline is in War Games. But as far as a singles opponent, I feel like a Logan Paul Seth Rollins match would be a pretty kick-ass match. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, The Ground is Lava, Women's Tag Team Title Edition. We have the Floor is Lava coming up in January at the Alamo Dome. Rage King, I hope Bayley is okay. She hit everything on the table. She hit her head on the table. That's what she hit. Tom Phelan, heading into work and will catch the review tonight. Remember to hit that like button. Yes, it does help the video out when you hit the like button, so please go ahead and do so. It will help get us into the recommendeds. The algorithm loves it when you hit the like button. Angel Silva. Did you hear when Roman said, KSI, Mr. Beast, Solomonster, no more YouTubers in WWE? What are your thoughts on that? He said no more YouTubers in WWE? Well, then I guess my dreams are shattered. David with the $2. Really tired of Roman's matches with interference. Yeah, I mean, I generally am too, but I just thought on this show with this opponent, I thought it actually worked out very well. Joseph Brooks, did Orton reach his full potential in WWE to you? I don't think he did. I think he could have been an even bigger star than he was. Jay Baker, the Dudleys should induct the table into the Hall of Fame. Rizzo, I fully admit that I was skeptical when they brought in Logan, but he has impressed me. If he sticks with this full time, he could be a world champion in my opinion. Absolutely. Hyru, Drew Gulak also deserves some recognition for helping Logan Paul. Not only Drew Gulak, but apparently Shane Helms also played a big role in that match. The Savior. Could we see the New Day in War Games? Why? I mean, I guess with the Usos in there, but I just think there's more. There are better options than Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods to be in War Games. With the Usos, if the Usos are in there, I guess you can make sense of it, but I don't know that we need the New Day in War Games. Bogus Fan with a $9.99. Not that this is saying much, but perhaps this was the best Saudi show main event. It's definitely one of the best ones, absolutely. Luis Belmont Show with the $10 super chat. They did a Brock Lesnar heel turn for nothing 3 weeks ago. They did a double turn with these two. Thus, Brock is a babyface again, while Bobby Lashley turned heel. Really does not make any sense. We have to wait until TV to see if that's how they book this. It came off that way, I agree. It definitely came off like a double turn in this match. We'll just have to wait and see what happens on Monday night. It could show up on Monday and it could be Bobby right back to being a babyface and Brock back to being a heel. Although I don't know that I necessarily expect Brock to be on the show on Monday. Brock may disappear for a while before we see him again. It definitely came across, though, kind of like a double turn. Jay Baker, Sound Off Gamer, WWE 2K My GM mode, please. I'm still not done yet with my rise. Mads, thank you for the $2. And Joseph Brooks, Lashley and Lesnar match was basically a faster version of Goldberg and Lesnar at WrestleMania 33. Do you think the third match should be at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, and who wins? The match should be at WrestleMania. I think the match should be at Mania. And, I mean, me personally, I'd like to see Bobby Lashley go over. Thunder Knight, what is your favorite last man or woman standing match? For me, it is John Cena and Umaga. I think for me, it still might be Triple H and Chris Jericho from Fully Loaded in 2000. Thunder Knight, thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Oh. I was waiting for that to go off my screen. There we go. Now it's off. Now it's off my my screen. So what do we have here? What happened here? I wanted to go back to the Twitter poll. There we go. Couldn't imagine why the poll wasn't showing up. You can vote, by the way, for those of you who are new here and don't know. I put polls up after all of the big shows. You can go to Twitter at Solomonster is the place to go for that. Again, what did you think of WWE Crown Jewel 2022? So far, 75% of you have given this show a thumbs up, with almost 1,300 votes in so far. So go ahead and vote. We have Near chiming in with the $4 super chat. It says 1 year ago, let me turn the music off here. 1 year ago, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's, and then I kicked its ass. Thank you, Solomonster and chat, for your support. And keep praying for peace in the Middle East. Yeah, Near went through hell. He came out on the other side of it. We are all very proud of him. He has been a fan and friend of the show for a very long time. So, Near, I am very thankful that you are doing well, and I am thankful for your patronage. David says, are we going to get a Sound Off Gamer for Hello Kitty Island Adventure? Oh, absolutely. I can't wait. Sean, thank you for the sub. Asuka gives you the double thumbs up. Lakers Pats 1. Punk versus Bobby Fish in the Impact Zone. Book it, bro. Punk is in Be the Booker. Bobby Fish is not. You know, I guess he swam away before I could add him. But I believe that we have smashed our goal for today, which was 600 likes, and you guys have blasted past that. And so I am, of course, a man of the people. I give the people what they want, and what the people want, they want to be the Booker. And so let's go to it right now.
Ladies and gentlemen,
let's not waste any more time.
To be the Booker.
Shut up, Noah. You talk too much. This is the Crown Jewel edition of Be the Booker. We just did one last night, and I booked one of the greatest matches, maybe the single greatest match that I have ever booked since I started doing this segment 2 years ago. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against Will Ospreay. I think it's going to be very hard to top that here, but we're going to try. We're going to give it the old college try, see how this goes. We begin with Big Daddy Cool, Diesel. Hey Rizzo, thank you for the 5. Says, much love to Near. And Amzo watching all the way, live from the UK. It's actually a pretty decent time over in the UK for a change, isn't it, for one of these streams? We got Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Look how cool he is with those shades. Former WWF champion for a year. It's going to be Diesel stepping into the ring, stepping over the top rope to take on Shane McMahon. I'm torn. I'm torn on that. You know what? Actually going to give it the bell. Because if we're talking Shane back when he was in his heyday of having those crazy matches that he would have, he would be bumping his ass off for Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash wouldn't have to do much. I actually think Diesel and Shane McMahon could be a pretty decent match. So I'm going to show that match some love. I know that's going to get probably a negative reaction from most people, but I'm in a very charitable mood today. Now over on the ladies' side, we begin with the 9th wonder of the world, Chyna. There she is with the Winged Eagle belt and the European title belt, a double champion. Big Show here does not approve. Hey, Slim Yoshi, thank you for the $5 super chat. It says, what do you think of this potential team for War Games? Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Riddle, Sheamus, and Braun Strowman. All people who have been wronged by the bloodline. It's very possible, but I think if Sheamus is in there, it could be Sheamus and the Brutes. I would think all 3 members of the Brawling Brutes, but I see what you're trying to do there. That would make more sense. KO, Drew, Riddle, Sheamus, and Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman has not been wronged by the bloodline, though. So I don't know about Braun necessarily in that spot, but I think you're pretty bang on with the rest of it. So let's see who Chyna's getting in the ring with. Let's get back to this here. Chyna going one-on-one with... Who is this? Kelly. Oh, my God. I blanked. I Barbie blanked there for a second. I don't know. Some of these blondes, they all look the same. I should know. I am a blonde. Chyna and Kelly is a horrible match. There's no way to be charitable about that. Well, all you can do is pick yourself up and move on. We begin with the Dynamic Dudes. We have Shane Douglas on one side, and we have Johnny Hot Pants on the other. And look how excited this child is here, standing in between them. Is that their manager? I don't know who this kid is. So, the Dynamic Dudes are going to be skating on down to the ring. Let's see who they're getting into the ring with. Dynamic Dudes and Demolition. I can't ever give a buzzer to Demolition. Demolition is my all-time favorite tag team. They are at the top of my list of people who should be in the Hall of Fame. If I could wave a magic wand and put people in the Hall of Fame, Demolition would be in the #1 spot. Always got to show some love to Axe and Smash. Joseph Brooks with the $4.99. Now that we have gotten Lesnar against Joe and Lesnar and Lashley, I know you're going to say no to this, but do you think there is a bit of hope of Lesnar against Batista? I don't know how slowly I need to say this, so I'll say it a little slowly. No. Not going to happen. Batista is done. When Batista says that he is done, I believe him. I take him at his word. He wanted Triple H to be his last opponent. He had a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. Triple H can't even wrestle anymore. He's retired. He's done. Can't ever go back to that. I think Batista got what he wanted out of wrestling. I think he's happy. He's off making movies. What does he need to come back for? To get injured? To be thrown around and dropped on the back of his head in a match with Brock Lesnar? In a 4-minute match? No. The answer is no. Solo says no. Joseph, I love you, but I don't know how many other languages I could say that in. I don't want to see it, and there's no realistic shot of it happening. And Rizzo with the $5 super chat says, rest in peace to Aaron Carter. That song, I Want Candy, was my jam during my childhood. 1 pay-per-view down and 2 to go. 3 if you count UFC. Well, I'm not going to be watching this UFC, although this is the one. Is this the one from Madison Square Garden? I think it is. But yeah, we got 1 pay-per-view down. We have Full Gear is up next in a couple of weeks. And then the week after that, we have War Games at Survivor Series, which I am very much looking forward to. And that's the first I'm hearing of, if that is true, that Aaron Carter passed away. I know he had a lot of problems, though, over period of his life, right? He had addiction problems and stuff. I haven't heard about him in recent years. I don't know if he cleaned himself up or what his status was, but that's very sad. He was still a very young guy. So that is very sad. You know, at first when I read that super chat, I saw the word Aaron. I thought it was Aaron Paul. I said, oh my God. Then I saw Aaron Carter, and I thought to myself, that in a weird way kind of makes a little more sense. But still very sad. So I think we have reached the end of our rope here. I want to thank you guys keeping me company here on this stream. We always have a good time here on YouTube, and you guys make it all worth it. So I thank you for your support. If you missed the SmackDown Rampage recap last night, please go back and check that out. That is up for your viewing pleasure. Tomorrow is going to be episode 781 of The Sound Off, which I am completely unprepared for. There'll be a podcast. I can't make any promises about how long it's going to be. But there are definitely things to talk about. That'll be tomorrow. 15 years of this is incredible, but I thank you for that. And then Monday night, back here live for the Raw stream. So like I said, 4 shows in 4 days, 2 down, 2 to go. And I hope that you will join me for those as well. Fawaz, Fawaz, I was waiting for Fawaz. And look who just showed up. Well, first of all, before I get to Fawaz, Dr. Dakota Scorpio says, snow came early here, so watch out for the geese. I got my BB gun ready for the geese. Don't you worry about that. But Fawaz, who had the giant sound off sign tonight, if you missed it, one of the many shots. This is one of the better ones. I loved it. Fawaz with the $10 super chat says, just went to the hotel after a long night. First of all, I leveled up to the challenge. How is the crowd? Says, I don't know if you saw Roman's entrance. Just when he raised the title, the sign is there. I did see it. I did see that, but this is one of the shots here that was sent to me. And Fawaz, you did good. You did good, brother. I can't tell you how much it means to me to have that kind of support from all the way over there. All the way over there, so very far away here from where I am right now. And to think that my voice reaches that far to people from all over the globe is something that I don't take for granted. So thank you. I always say it. You always level up and you always impress me. I don't know how you're getting these seats, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Whatever you're doing, keep doing what you're doing, because there's going to be more Saudi shows next year. So hopefully you'll be there too. But Fawaz, big thumbs up for me. You are goated after tonight. So have yourself a very good night. You've earned it. And thank you again for the $2. I appreciate it. Maze says, fill those geese with more holes than a Mets bullpen. Oh, I'm ready. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go figure out what I'm doing for dinner. And please, again, tune into episode 781 tomorrow, back here on Monday night, live on YouTube, as we are every week from Monday Night Raw. Until then, adios, guys.